Listeners, you are going to love this episode. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for it. I am here with Vernice FlyGirl Armour. Bam!
You.
And I'm a little starstruck, I got to admit, but also friendstruck. So, Vernice, welcome to the podcast.
I am excited to be here.
This is going to be, I don't even know where it's going to go. It's going to be on fire, though. I can't wait. Vernice and I actually are just meeting for the first time in person, which is crazy.
Ever.
Crazy.
Ever.
Because I feel like we've been girlfriends forever.
Yeah.
Like
well,
years.
we first met on Match.com.
That's a true story. I was out there shopping. That's how I met my husband. Match.com. I was shopping. If I would have saw your profile, he would have been history. There's just no way that you and I wouldn't have gotten together.
Oh man.
So that's awesome. No, I think the first time I had heard about your legacy, and it's almost like there's city to city. Like I've even seen an Instagram from you in a lounge, a Delta lounge that you had just left that I just walked into.
Way.
Yeah,
That's
Cincinnati.
crazy.
You were with Lily in Cincinnati, who I also work with and love.
Yeah.
And you had just posted that you left that. I feel like I was tracking you. But when we first met, you called me because you were trying to figure out how to do
the mommy thing. And
the mommy on the road.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I knew you had, I think, what was it, 19 and counting or
Yeah,
something?
I've got 8 sons, so 19 and counting.
Yeah.
Funny reference. I'm a little slow. I'm slow on that one.
That's okay. Your listeners are.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm rusty now because my youngest. So Rich has 4. I have 4. My youngest graduated from high school this year, so I'm going to be empty nester. So I'll take Noah and Josh for you for.
I think. She's 2.5.
You guys were just pregnant.
I called you before I got pregnant.
Before you got pregnant.
It's like 4 years ago. So you were just freshman in high school for your youngest.
That's true, because you had not gotten pregnant, and then you told me the good news that you got pregnant and had little Miss
And you were just
Noah.
out there doing amazing things. And I said, how does this woman have an empire where she's just burning it up? She has it all together. All your crap looked just amazing. You like that crap? Looked amazing. And I said, you know what? How does she do it? And it was really from a personal standpoint of being a mom and still spending time with your family and your marriage at the time. You know, how did you guys do it? And because I don't believe in work-life balance.
Yeah.
You know, I do.
It's a verb.
Right,
balance
right.
is a verb. It's like, it's not a noun. Everybody's like, work-life balance.
That doesn't exist.
I want that thing. And I'm like, well, no, it's a verb. And it's just about balancing your energy.
Yeah.
We talked about that. It's like being fully present here with you now, then I can be fully present with my kids. But, you know, so many people just don't quite get the working mom thing. I think there's still some gender issues out there because
big time.
I'll be standing next to my husband and we talk about our family, and he's a successful businessman too. No one ever asks him how he does it all. Right. And I get asked they're like, you travel and you have kids, and you know, but we were at a church thing, and my kids were talking to an elderly woman, and she was really feeling bad for them. And she's like, how do you do it with your mom traveling? And of course, my kids were really courteous. They're like, everything's good and it's fine. And we get in the car, and of course, it was an elderly woman, and my youngest son goes, Mom, what, doesn't she even know about Skype? And isn't that funny? Because she was just assuming that if you are trying to parent in old ways, like, of course you can't do it. You'd never see your kids. But to my son, I was there whenever he needed me through text or Skype at the time or any of that. So you can do it. I don't think a goal is, I don't think you should have it all. I think you got to set priorities and make choices. Why would you want it all?
On what's appropriate for you. And what does all mean, right?
That's it.
And
why would you want
what
it all?
Time?
Yeah.
So I believe, well, number one, 5 days out of the 7 are work, so it'll never be balanced.
Yeah.
Right? But work-life integration, unless you're like, Ferris, and you got the 4-hour work week, then
I love his stuff.
Unbalanced the other way. But integration, you know, when I talk to folks, I'll say it's like a cake. You know, you don't have a cup of salt and a cup of sugar. It's a little bit of a little bit of salt, a cup of sugar, whatever. But at different times in your life,
you're making different
family
types of
will
cakes.
be the sugar, or work will be the sugar, or the flour, or the eggs, or the this. All the different elements of life in the different mixture and how you put it together in that moment is, you know, because if my family needs me, I'm going to be there with my family. Period. End of story. That's it.
Exactly.
Same thing in corporate America. You know, if our leaders really understood that, and I think a lot of them do, about their people. How do we care for their people, and they'll care for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. My listeners by now are like, she's awesome, super cool, who is she? So for some people that you're brand new to, tell me a little bit of your backstory. Like, FlyGirl, I mean, although I think you could be a Marvel superhero, I think that would be awesome. Oh my gosh,
Captain America
watch. And Flash, she's got a Flash shirt on.
Total Marvel superhero.
I love it. So I think FlyGirl should be the next superhero, but you earned that title a little differently, but I want you to be a superhero. You are to me.
So real side note here, I was actually a Marvel character on a poster.
What?
Yes.
Totally?
Yes, I was in a Marvel poster.
Okay, then forget the backstory. This is better than the backstory that she was a superhero on the poster. It doesn't matter what she did in Iraq or Afghanistan or any of that stuff.
So the short story is I went from beat cop to combat pilot in 3 years.
Dang.
And I ended up...
That's usually a 6-year process.
It just depends on different people's journeys, right? Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
That's quick. For my listeners, if you're not military, that's fast.
Quick.
Yeah.
Fast, in a hurry. I saw a woman in a flight suit way back in college. Since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a cop that rode a horse downtown. Right? I know, mountain patrol.
Patrol, career goals.
Yep. Hey, didn't know the how, right? I knew you needed a horse. Got a horse at 6.
Yeah, gotta have a horse and a uniform.
But didn't know necessarily the how, but I kept the vision out there. And Dr. King has an amazing quote. You don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step, right? Yeah. That's just amazing and true.
And we just got to pause there because so many people call me up and they're like, how do I get to here? And I'm like, just do this. They're like, how can that work? And I love that quote.
I use that one a lot because so many people get hung up in the how. But if I try to stay on track here.
Okay, I'll stop.
No. Look, I have to stop because I have a story for everything. It's like when you say a word and somebody starts singing the song.
Yeah.
That goes, yeah.
That's what you got.
Yeah. So when I got to college, got involved in ROTC. Why? Because I didn't have any money to go to school. Parents didn't have any money, so I went to school on student loans, Pell Grants, partial music scholarship, and I said, okay, I got to get creative. Today the word is innovation. Back then it was just, you got to get creative, right? Saw the flyer, it said free trip to Mardi Gras. I said, what? That is for me. And it fits the budget.
God.
Free. Yeah. But there's always a catch.
Yeah.
Right? There's always a catch. Got close to the flyer. When I read it, it's fine print. You had to join the women's ROTC rifle team. So I long story short, joined the rifle team, which was just an auxiliary to ROTC.
Okay.
Went down to Mardi Gras, marched for 7 days straight. I don't know about how much partying
They
I did.
left that off the poster.
Right. But I had found something that I felt could help me not just get into police academy, but excel once in police academy.
Yeah.
Maybe even save my butt once I got out on the streets,
Yeah,
right?
no kidding.
So I got involved in the military, joined ROTC as a cadet. Why? Because I wanted to leverage that strategic advantage, even more. Ended up getting an invitation to police department, became a police officer, rode horses downtown.
You did it. I didn't realize that
Harley
part.
Davidson, steel horse.
Oh, steel horses.
But yes, I became a cop. But I still couldn't forget about that woman I saw in the flight suit when I was in ROTC. So I left the police department, and this is the crazy part, and I don't even really talk about this that much, but think about it. When I was leaving, people said things like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be back. Why are you leaving?" All those. But what were they really saying? You're gonna fail.
You're gonna fail.
Yeah,
You'll
absolutely.
be back. You'll realize this is a crazy wild dream. And
why are you throwing your career away? You just started. And my thing is,
people, we get so much bad advice, and that advice comes from other people's egos,
right?
Because they had dreams they didn't pursue,
right.
And so from an ego place, if they were in their higher self, they'd be like, "You go."
And my thing
girl.
is, just because you couldn't do it doesn't mean I can't do it, right?
Exactly.
Right. So I left the department, became a Marine. Now you don't join the Marines; you become a Marine.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't take applications, just commitments. Work for recruiting a little bit. So I become a Marine and go through Officer Candidate School, basic course, flight school, graduate on July 21st, 2001. Now when I became a Marine and graduated from flight school, I became the Marine Corps' first black female pilot. Wow. Crazy. in 2001.
Was
I'm
that
like,
even
this is
in your
crazy.
radar? I mean, that was just like, oh, by the way?
When I first was starting to sign up, no. Until the recruiter told me, he said, well, you know you're going to be the first. I was like, what? That's deep.
First of all, that's deep, wrong, deep, awesome, but.
And in the Marine Corps, they did not start, the first woman period, Sarah Deal did not become a pilot until 95. Now, I started turning in my applications, I think, in 93, 94, and they didn't accept me the first time. Women could only apply once a year. They didn't accept me the first time, they didn't accept me the second time, and I skipped a year, and they accepted me in the fourth year. Now, after the first time, most people move on. Like, over 80% of people never reapply. Second time, I don't know what the stats. Third time, okay, I'm just an anomaly at this point.
Yeah.
Who's still hanging on to that? But the laws changed in 93, allowing women to have more roles in combat. And flying air was one of them. So, you know, maybe they just weren't ready the first year, second year, you know, things were still just getting ironed out. The first woman didn't even become a pilot until 95, and I ended up going in 98. Became the Marine Corps' first black female pilot. And after I graduated from flight school, July 21st, 2001, less than 60 days before 9/11.
Dang, I didn't put this all in perspective. I have known you, I just didn't put it in perspective. 60 days before 2001.
Yep.
Dang.
So obviously life changed real quick. Found ourselves in the middle of the desert, supporting the men and women on the ground.
And that was fast. That was like an immediate call.
For some people, yes, absolutely. Ours was, we had workups and things, so it was a little bit before we got there, but our squadron was the first squadron on the ground, air support attack helicopters, HMLA 169, yep. And that's Iraq, Kuwait, not Afghanistan.
Okay.
Afghanistan
Came later.
Yeah, that was before. Afghanistan was an immediate response.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I did not know I had become America's first African-American female combat pilot until Oprah called me up. And she had done all the research, you know, how all her people had looked into the background and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, what? This is crazy.
That is crazy. Well, just the fact that Oprah calls you up is a little crazy.
Like, hello? Who this? Oh! Yeah, no, it was pretty amazing. So that's the long and short of it. And if I tie it to where I am now, and like, how did I even make this crazy transition? People were asking, you know, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Like, I was the first black female to ride motorcycles on the Nashville Police Department. Only second female. I was the first black female police department on the Tempe Police Department. The first black female pilot, Marine Corps, and combat, right, in U.S. history.
Because your goal wasn't seeking the media.
It wasn't doing any of those first. No, I just wanted to live an amazing, exciting, juicy life, right?
It's just about your motto, which I won't ruin, but
which
it's
is what?
Like, get gutsy. Get gutsy.
That's right.
Well, and that's the deal is people want some magic secret sauce or some safe way. They're like, so tell me the 3 steps. If I do, it won't.
They want a guaranteed
that won't hurt.
way.
Exactly. And I'm like, you know what? Buy-in is a verb. You've got to lean into this. You've got a commitment is being willing to do whatever it takes, regardless.
You said be what?
Be
willing to do what it takes.
Yeah, be willing to do what it takes regardless of the circumstances.
So there are 2 things that you just said in there. Number 1 is willing, and number 2, regardless of what it takes, meaning there might be a sacrifice. Definition of sacrifice is something of greater value, which is why you even make the risk anyway, right?
Totally.
But the first thing you said, you have to be willing.
Be willing.
And I'm going to take it even further. You have to be more than willing. Will you?
Will you?
Will you?
Will you? That's different than willing. Willing's more passive, isn't it? Yeah. When it comes down, it's yes or no question. There's no maybe in there.
That's
it's like,
right.
Will you?
It's like, are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
No.
There's no halfway.
And you know, the whole will you is, you know, that saying yes, that commitment. And I teach that a lot. Like if you're sitting in the exit row in an airplane and they ask you that stupid question, like if the plane crashes, you're still alive, the fire's on the inside, will you open the door next to you?
Right.
And I'm like, head shake. Of course I will. They're like, no, we want a verbal commitment, a yes or no. So I checked into that. I checked into that research, and there's social psychology research that says someone is 200 times more likely to take action if they have out loud said yes 200 times, not 200%, 200 times.
That's deep, right?
That's deep.
So Robert Cialdini, right? Laws of influence.
Yeah.
Commitment and consistency. Something we have committed to, we are going to stay just like when people get in an argument and they get entrenched in their position, even when they finally get it in their head, okay, I'm kind of wrong here.
Yeah.
But they're going to stay committed to where they were because now they don't want to be wrong, right? That commitment and consistency is huge.
It is huge. And that's the ego that locks in loads on that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I love all that you put out there about get gutsy, stay gutsy,
But there's a
be
catch.
gutsy. Yeah. What
Get
is
gutsy,
it?
get gutsy, right? In order to be successful, you got to get gutsy. In your gut, you know it's right. In your gut, that voice, it's talking to you. Everybody has it.
It whispers at first. Some people
Some
are
people
like,
have the volume turned down.
yeah, it
Yes.
whispers at first, but eventually the universe has your back. Eventually it will slam you in the head with a 2x4. Because a lot of people are like, I don't really hear it. I'm like, it's screaming
Yeah,
at
you
you.
do.
Like
Yeah.
your marriage fell apart, your boss wants you to leave.
Yeah.
Like it's screaming at you. Yeah.
Totally. Yes. And because some people, I say, who has that voice, and say half the room raises their hand. I say, okay, now how many, maybe you have multiple voices.
Yeah.
So they don't know which one is screaming, right? And they get confused. But the way to tell which one is the voice is it's screaming at you. It's unmistakable. You can't shake it.
Yeah, it's
It's
there.
there.
And I
That's
think
right.
we've got to carve out time away from the external forces to get quiet and listen to
hear
your
the
voice. Yeah.
That's right.
And pay attention to, I'm not about
right.
the drama and the emotions, but pay attention to visceral, true emotion. Like when I think about, when somebody asks me to do something, and I'm all about like, just say yes. I love being gutsy. I love going after it. But a lot of times I got to get quiet and just go, is this energy building or depleting for me? That's my main question. Like when I picture myself doing this thing or being in this place, does that give me energy or does it take energy away? Because I got to be honest with it. But most of the time I find that whatever I say yes to, by definition, gives me a ton of energy.
Yeah.
You got to go.
That's
You
awesome.
not only say yes, but part of getting gutsy is going wholehearted into it. Is like, if you say yes, then go for it.
So I have an analogy for that, right?
I don't.
So yes, I have an analogy for everything.
I love it.
Stories. So we're watching the movie. The bad guys are running across the rooftops in the middle of the city. The FBI, ATF, whoever's chasing them, right? They always have to leap over buildings and jump from building to building, right? That's how it goes in the movies.
Yep.
Now, what if you're running and when you get to the edge, are you
Yeah,
going to
you
make it
pause a
across?
little bit.
Are you
You'll
going to
never
make
make
it?
it.
No, because you didn't
That
go.
one moment
that
of
one
doubt.
moment.
Just that
Just
tiny
that
moment of doubt. You
half
lost
a percent of
all velocity.
Totally. Took that extra that you needed to make it across to get after the bad guy.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that that's a trust issue. And it's a trust issue of yourself. And a lot of people think trust depends on you. Like, you need to be trustworthy, so I trust you. I don't need to trust you. I need to trust me and my skill set and my ability and my commitment, because I can compensate for most of what you don't have. And a lot of times, and I've been dying to ask you this
deep.
question.
Yep.
So the podcast is called No Ego. And we talk a lot about ego, which is that low self, just that narrow view, that judging, bias,
Right.
crappy form of
Right.
ourselves. Now, when you talk about gutsy, a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between like confidence and ego? And like, what's the difference between us being gutsy and going, you know what? I'm not tied to the outcome because I didn't intend to be the first anything, but I'm going to be gutsy, and that thing those titles pile up when you're gutsy. So,
That's a great question.
yeah, what do
No
you
one's
think is the
even asked me that
difference
question
between
before,
gutsy
which
and
is
ego, or
awesome.
confidence and ego?
All right, so I have my definition of ego. I think it's along the same lines as yours. Ego, it's a big thing, right? We have to have ego to survive. Why?
Yep.
Ego makes us pay our rent. Ego puts clothes on us in the morning, or else we just walk out naked because we don't care, right?
That's
I
true.
mean,
There's some level of vanity that keeps us
right,
conforming.
That keeps us. I mean, when people fall down, what's the first thing they do? If you're walking down a busy street in New York and you trip over something,
You
what's
look
the first?
around.
That's right. Who saw me fall? Right. That's
and with,
the whole ego
with your
thing.
daughter, like ego at her age right now, almost 3, it's how she figures out how to separate from you. It's like
Yes.
she realized
Right.
you are not me.
Right.
I am not you. Wake up
Right.
call. I'm going to
Right.
say no a lot.
Right.
That's what little kids do.
Yes, yes. And it's the imbalance of, and I'm not saying I'm a totally balanced person, because I'm not. I'll just say that right now. It's the imbalance of ego and soul, right? Ego and spirit. So when the ego goes too far,
Oh, I like this.
right? And then you get into the pride and the this. And sometimes I say, hey, put your pride to the side. what elevates your energy? What takes it to the next level? What's going to make you vibrate higher? What's going to...
So the ego holds us back, because if your pride is out there, you're like, I would like to do this, but what if I fail and people will see? And
Boom.
put your pride to the side.
Put your pride to the side.
I love that.
Sometimes in order to grow, you got to go.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing. Get gutsy. In your gut, you know it's right. Turn off the TV. Turn off the radio. Just like you said, get quiet. Turn off Netflix. Like, actually take a moment to hear something. If you're asking, you got to be able to hear it.
Yeah.
In your gut, you know it's right, and it takes guts to do it. If it didn't take guts, confidence, courage, you just asked me what's the difference, right? Then it'd just be an action on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a thing. But if it's gutsy, and a gutsy move doesn't mean it's just haphazard, flippant, nonchalant about it. You don't care what no, it's not. I'm just gonna go for it. Damn the ships, damn the
or
torpedoes,
uncalculated
whatever.
risk, where
right.
it's not uncalculated
No, it's
risk.
not uncalculated. But you know, how many of us have read Blink, Malcolm Gladwell, right? And again, because of our experience, and I'm the only person that's been in my body for 44, almost 45 years. I know me really well, and in my gut, I know when something is for me and it's not for me.
And getting clear on that.
And getting clear on that.
And just because you're scared, this is, I think, one of the mistakes people make is when they go to their gut and they think about it and they feel scared, getting to realize that being scared isn't a good thing to pay attention to, because a lot of the things that I need to do, that my gut says I need to do, I'm pretty scared to do.
Yes.
You know, like we get on stage every day, you and I, in front of sometimes thousands of people, and people are surprised. I don't know about you. I'm still scared every stinking time I get on stage.
I want to be.
I
and I
too.
call it the
If
edge.
I'm not, yeah, it's the edge. If I'm not nervous, I'm worried. I'm worried that it's not going to be a great. So
I'm
a
right
lot
here
of
with
people,
you
when
on that one.
they listen to the voice, they get confused if it's scary.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's scary.
But that. You can take, my friend always says, you know, take the fear and use it as the force. Like, and I like to say things I like to say yes to things, especially if they scare me. Like, if they seem to be energy building and they scare me, it's the universe telling me, like, go here next, go here next. But you got to do this stuff with expectancy, not expectations. Like, I just have an expectancy that this is gonna be so sweet, even if it's for 5 minutes, one day, never happens again. Not expectations.
God, there's so much I want to say now.
I know,
it's just
keep
like,
going.
and I can only say one thing at a time.
This will be the first 5-hour podcast.
Right.
You know, I tell people ego and confidence. Confidence is, I have confidence that when we come together, I have cool stuff to bring to the table. And as Einstein said, together we'll be genius. Ego is, my stuff is the only stuff that needs to be brought to the table. And I know better. And people who are confident know they have a part of the puzzle, but they also at the same time know that they don't know a ton, that they have beginner's mind. So they leave a big part of it for other people to bring to the table. Confident people leave space for others. Ego people.
So there's a difference between cocky and confidence.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's what I hear you saying. Cocky, I get this is all mine, right? And confidence, I am confident I am on the right track, right? And confidence even has it's not, the bridge is not connecting all the way, because it's like if I said, I'm pretty confident there are no bullets in the gun. I know there are no bullets in the gun, right? Where it's almost where the cocky is, yes, we connect that to almost that narcissistic place of going out, or the ego place, right? But the ego really is a part of our spirit. We just have to know how to keep our ego in check.
And I love what you said, balance with spirit and soul. Because I heard and I forget who was the actual speaker, but with the Blue Angels, is like, you got to be totally confident. They're flying within inches, my understanding of each other.
Absolutely.
But then the humility to, after the fact, the after action review, to be just like going through every critique, minute detail and saying, thank you for that feedback. That cool balance is just what a leader needs to be. What else do you like? What's your best stuff for leaders, for my listeners? Like, where do you want to go next? We have so much to talk about.
Okay, so let's go back to
a repeated
Get Gutsy.
performance. Get Gutsy.
And your gut, you know it's right. It takes guts to do it. And we didn't talk about the catch.
What's the catch?
Tell me what the catch is.
I don't know.
I just asked my last audience this for the
What's
very
the
first
catch?
time
So
ever.
It's
and
in your
somebody
gut.
actually
You
got
gotta
it.
be gutsy.
It's in your gut. In your gut, you know it's right.
For me, it would be that it also, my catch would be, I got to make sure it serves the highest good, the higher purpose.
Yes.
So I didn't get
There's a catch to getting gutsy.
Oh, okay.
What's the catch to getting gutsy? In your gut, you know it's right. It takes guts to do it.
Oh, don't overthink it. I don't know. Help me out.
You got to take action.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, that was too obvious.
Oh, yeah, that's obvious. And how many
But no,
people
I see
don't
it.
take action?
I see it because I have people who have collections of vision boards. They're like, let me talk some more about my vision board.
Plans and strategic.
Sorry, you know why I didn't get the answer to that question? Because I'm the girl who's already took action.
Because you're like, you take action for granted.
Yeah, and then thought, maybe I could have thought that out quicker. Yeah,
It's like when we're teaching our new people how to drive and we say, okay, get in, turn the key, start the car. And they're turning the key and the key doesn't start, right? The key won't turn. Why won't it turn? We didn't tell them to put their foot on the brake.
Yeah.
You have to put on your foot. But that's just that we don't even think about that
it. It was
anymore,
so inside
right?
me. Taking action. I'm amazed at, quite honestly, the money people make off helping people think and dream. And for me, I go back and forth because sometimes it's like I'm so into here's how you apply my stuff and here's what you need to make it better. I feel guilty. I don't want to be part of just helping people just think and dream anymore. Right. I want to help people create peace and happiness in their workplace today. Like move beyond drama and ego today.
Peace and happiness in the workplace today. It goes back to that definition of balance that you talked about. Am I here right now? Because right now is all we have. Even the beginning of this podcast is gone, right? So let's just take the typical mindset of, in Vernice's mind, what the average working person is going through. Monday morning, oh my God, I really don't want to go to work. Okay, I'm gonna go. Wednesday, hump day. Yeah, Friday's almost here. Friday, woohoo! Yeah, but wait, some of us have kids. We get home from work. Okay, I'm tired. Okay, yeah, cool, fine. Okay, go eat dinner, go watch TV. Okay, time to go to bed. Wake up the next morning, same thing all over. Hump day, Friday, woo, weekend, Saturday, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're hanging out. Saturday evening, oh man, the weekend's halfway over, bummed out. Sunday, oh God, I gotta go to work
The passage of time just mandates your suffering.
And it's still the weekend.
Yeah, but you're not here.
And you're already thinking about the misery of Monday.
Yeah.
Just another manic Monday. Right? There's a song for everything.
Wish it were Sunday.
Right. We spend the whole year waiting to go on vacation. We get 2 weeks. A lot of people only get 2 weeks out of a whole year. That's
crazy.
Right? Halfway through the vacation because they're building up. Oh man, can't wait. Countdown. You're on vacation. You're excited. You get there. A week in, you're already starting to get sad because the vacation's halfway over. The vacation's halfway over and you're not even in that moment of happiness anymore, right? Now, let's take it to a different place of not what we look forward to or dread per se as a time thing, but something is happening. There's a potential outcome. There's fear, right? Your friend said, do what with fear?
Use it as your force.
Use it as your force. I like to say, transform your fear to fuel.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Like you
Rocket
can
fuel.
explode like a grenade, or you could bring it back in and focus it like a finely tuned laser burning through steel, because it's all energy.
Yeah, everything's energy.
Everything is energy. How you harness it is the secret sauce. So the military has this thing called NAFOD, no apparent fear of death. You can actually get discharged from the military for NAFOD, no apparent fear of death. Because if you have no fear, it's just like, yeah, we're going, where you're running
You're
into
gonna make dumb decisions and endanger others.
That's exactly
Because we gotta come after we gotta come after your idiotic decision.
Right.
We gotta come after you
That's
and
exactly
get you back.
Right. That's not gutsy.
Yeah.
That's just
no
dumb
apparent fear of death.
or ignorant, and ignorant is just lack of knowledge, right? But some people really have that, what we call NAFOD, and if you don't have that healthy fear, and what fear does, it's one of the biggest helpers in the world. It helps you mitigate the risks, not ignore, that we're just going for it, but we're gonna mitigate. Okay, so what are the concerns? What are the fears? What is the harm that can happen out of this? What is the risk? That's the whole reason we have the industry of risk management.
You do.
Right?
And you gotta love what is in its reality, and reality is always imperfect.
That's right.
It's what you bring to the table. And a lot of times fear can be false events appearing real,
Yep.
FEAR.
That's right.
But it can definitely be
Well, because it's fear of the unknown, and then we make it up. Then our imagination runs wild, right? Then we got to say, okay, hold up, do a worst case scenario exercise. Most people don't even know what a worst case scenario exercise is, but what's the worst that could happen? And you know, when I went through a personal worst case scenario exercise, when it looked at, because I was looking at what's my purpose on the planet, right? What's my purpose on the planet? Everybody says, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Well, what was my purpose? And what was I willing to do to figure it out? And once I figured it out, was I willing to go for it? Because that's the big one, right? You got to choose it, right?
Yeah.
And not just willing, but will you? So I said, well, worst thing that could happen is I could become an entrepreneur and then I could go bankrupt. Okay, well, what's the worst thing that happened? And so I'll speed it up and won't go through every single little step I took. But at a certain point, it was I didn't have health insurance or something happened, and then I died, right? And it's like, well, what's worse than death? And for some people, that was the ultimate. And I was thinking, well, actually,
that's not my ultimate. That's not my biggest fear.
That's not my ultimate, no. I said, well, then my soul was here, and if I didn't live my purpose, like, holy crap, my soul was here. Not only did I not live my purpose, I didn't even go for it.
Yeah.
Why the hell was I even here?
Yeah.
Billions of souls have inhabited this planet, and this is my time.
This is
right
your time.
Now.
You got to be here, be
and
now.
all I'm caring about is a retirement and 80 hours in the office.
That's my
this
biggest
week?
fear. That's my biggest fear is having not answered the call. Is that my biggest fear?
Yeah.
Death doesn't. I don't have no fear.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that. I'm still a
Right.
good comrade, but death
Yes.
doesn't scare me as much as not being here.
Not being here.
And there's just. From the time I was little, I just wanted people to understand, like, suffering is completely optional. And most of the time self-imposed. And when you talk about being halfway through your vacation and out into the future, some of the ed coach kept telling me they're just exhausted. They're exhausted. They were just tired. They're exhausted. They had no health issues. They were just exhausted. And I remember listening to this person. It was a CEO, and he was like, you know, I'm just exhausted. And in his conversation, I just drew a map. And every time he'd be out in the future dreading it, with my pen, I would just go like this. And every time he'd go in the past regretting it, I would go like this. And every time he'd go back to the future, I'd go like this. And soon my paper, there was very little in the present.
In the moment.
And so then I said, okay, if you have to get from A to B and you're going to jog a path, and you just wanted to go to A to B, it'd be a pretty short path, but here's the path he took. His jogging route was like 18 miles long of what should have been like a 3-block route.
Wow.
And it just showed me that a lot of our exhaustion comes from I'm going to jog into the future and dread that or worry about it. And I'm going to jog into the past and pine for it. And I'm going to jog into the future. If you just stayed centered in the present, if you just hung out there, you would have so much energy.
And you know the deepest part, because a friend and I were talking about this actually a couple months ago. We are worried and spending all this energy on a potential future, potential outcome that usually doesn't even come to fruition
ever. Yeah.
So we just spent all our time worrying about that.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing didn't even happen.
Our stress comes from our stories, not our reality.
That's right.
Right? Plus, if you have this belief system that the universe has your back, Einstein said the universe is at least benevolent. Like, if you had that faith, you would know that everything just happens for your highest good. So there's nothing to fear. There's absolutely nothing to fear. Everything happens
the universe conspires for my best interest at all times. I 100% believe that. Okay, so you said, where do we go next? So this is totally it. Because there was a moment in my life where I doubted my voice. And I really felt unsure.
Really?
The exact opposite of confident, right?
Because I think so many people compare your outsides to their insides, or they compare my outsides to their insides, and they're always coming up short. And I'm like, don't compare your insides to somebody else's outsides. Get to know them.
Your life to somebody else's Facebook.
Exactly.
They're always going to post the good stuff, right?
Get to know them so that you can get to know their insides, and you'll realize we're all from the common source. We all have the same human condition. We all have the same fears and doubts.
Right.
So you doubted your voice.
I did. And for my whole life, I did not doubt my voice. My whole life, I have really listened to my voice. I mean, it's just, I was taught that from my parents and my grandparents. Like, that's just the way I grew up. And I feel some of us come here with the nurturing and the seed that has bloomed to help other people nurture their seeds that might not have bloomed when they were little, right?
Yeah.
So I was just blessed to be in that place and grow up like I did. And at a certain point, I was totally in love with this woman. And I just knew we were going to get married. And there was just nothing that could tell me otherwise. And at a certain point in our relationship, we ended up having a blow up. And we did not talk for more than over a year, right? And we'd known each other for quite a while. And I was devastated because I said, holy crap, because I had moved to a different city. LA, I was all in, chips all in, I'm going for it. Universe conspires for my best interest all the time. This is what my voice is telling me to do. I know it, and this is gonna be the outcome. Why? Because the voice told me. And then it wasn't the outcome.
And it didn't happen.
And I said, how can I ever
How could my voice be that wrong?
Right. How could it be that wrong? And the deepest part, Si, was how can I ever trust my voice again?
This is interesting.
How can I ever trust it again?
Because you can't measure the effectiveness of your voice in a 12-month period.
That's a big part of it. That's 50% of it right there.
It got you there, and I'm just anticipating the story is you met somebody awesome or...
So there are so many things in this, right?
Doubt in your voice.
Doubted the voice, because I was trying to say, okay, which one do I want to say first? The difference between expect and expectancy.
Yeah.
You said that, and that triggered. What we assume the outcome is going to be, what we expect the outcome to be, is not necessarily the outcome that is going to be.
For our highest good. And
That's
that
right.
attachment, the Buddhists say attachment creates all suffering.
That's right.
So you gotta listen to the voice, but you can't attach to
your outcome.
Yeah, it's no guarantees.
Right.
Plus, most of the time, I don't think we know what's good for us. I could have, if you would have given me a million dang options, I could have never, in my wildest dreams, imagine. I would never chosen sit in the room.
I was going to say chosen, yeah.
I would never chosen sit in the room. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to get to Vernice FlyGirl, and I'm going to sit in the room with her, and I'm going to make this happen. I simply said yes to a ton of seemingly innocent choices that brought me here.
Gutsy moves. Little gutsy moves. Yeah. It's all along the way, right? I talk about permission to engage. When I was shooting missiles over the desert, before we could pull the trigger, we had to get permission from the ground controller. Well, here at home, there are no ground controllers in life.
Yeah, there are.
You are your ground
controller.
If you don't give yourself permission, who will?
Permission to engage.
Right.
Which leads me to, and I got to get back to your story though, but engagement, so many companies are worried about engagement.
Right.
Should we get
I almost went there,
should we get
I'm glad
Pepsi and Coke in the workplace? And should we have Fushball? And should we have this? And I'm like, you know what? That you can set the perfect world. But that's not going to engage your employees. Engagement's a choice. Now, is it cool to give wonderful worlds to high accountables? Absolutely. But unless I, as an individual, say every day, permission to engage, I'm going to be disengaged. And if you say no rather than yes often enough, you won't be even in the league to be engaged.
Right.
So what happened? So the voice you thought was wrong.
Right. And I said, okay, how can I ever trust my voice again? But now, long story short, we ended up, it's crazy. I was hanging out with one of my best friends in the world, and he asked me about the situation. I was like, it was a huge learning experience. I got so many insights in my life, and if, I'm just gonna show up differently as a person and as a woman and as a partner and hopefully as a wife one day. And if I were ever in that person's presence again and had an opportunity to be in her life, I'd show up completely different, and I would love the opportunity.
I love that.
Right? No matter
Minding
what.
your successes and failures for learning.
Absolutely. I got into bed at 3 o'clock that morning. I was in Chicago visiting my dad for Christmas. 8 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings.
No way.
And I look at it, I'm like, what? It was her. I was like, this is crazy. And we had not spoken for over a year.
But something you had to let go of. You had to create space so there's room for it.
And the universe was like, ha, 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 okay, let's see what you do now, right? Long story short, we ended up getting married, and
so
we're
this
together
is your
for
wife
everything.
now?
Yes.
I love that story.
But this is the thing. I finally did come to a learning that, number one, just because I felt the voice was wrong, like say we never did get married, say we never got married, it was leading me in a direction to an outcome that I didn't see, right?
Yeah.
And many times I say the detour is the path.
It is the path. And who are we to know what the path is? And that's what I see.
Right.
So many people have, like, they get a little gutsy and then they look for instant confirmation and feedback, and then they go, see, that was the wrong path.
Right.
And
that's not it.
It's just not how it works.
No.
It's not how it works. And I think people are quick to say, was it right or was it wrong? Like, there isn't this whole spectrum.
There is no right or wrong.
Because, it's like.
It just is.
It just is. It just is. It's like, move away from that judgment. What the ego does.
Judgment.
The ego moves. Since this is no ego podcast, the ego is what adds the color commentary onto what is.
The judgment. That's
so
right.
So you and I are together. The ego adds on. So let's say that you didn't text me after we had this great podcast, right? Well, all I know is that you didn't text me, but the ego goes, and this means that. And once the ego adds on, this means that, that's where your information's disrupted. And now you have corrupt data. Just like if you get bad, briefings before you go in as a pilot, it's like you always have to be validating whether they were completely out of their minds when they gathered that intelligence.
Right. It's what are the facts, right? It's all data. We, spirit, human, our brain, are the filter.
Yep.
And when it runs through our filters, we can create some crazy things. And that's why I believe so much in the benefit of the doubt, right? So
I love that.
I am going to, my intention, because intention is everything. My intention is that you have my best interest at hand. That you, Sai, look out for my best interest.
Assume noble intent.
Right.
Is that a military thing? So I was talking about giving benefit of the doubt, and somebody goes, well, we're instructed in the military that we always give benefit of the doubt. Like if you're guarding a border, that you need to assume positive intent, and to keep the peace and peaceful situation. I don't know. Maybe it's like United Nations Peace Control or something.
I never heard it put that way.
I haven't either.
Yes, because if you don't give benefit of the doubt and you just take somebody out and you just kill them because
you can start a whole war on.
Yeah, you just started a whole war, or you just kill somebody and they were trying to bring you a coffee, or so it's just like police out on the street. They have to give the benefit of the doubt up to a certain point.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
And here, in benefit of the doubt in life with people, I mean, how many times has someone been on their way to pick you up, you're waiting, they're late, and for some people, a minute late, they're pissed.
Yeah.
And they could have been in a car accident. They could have stopped to help somebody on the side of the road. They could have said anything could have happened, and here we are pissed off because they're late, and we don't even know because all these things we're making up in our head.
And when we're mad, there's 100 things the universe is presenting to us that probably were supposed to happen in that moment that you didn't even notice.
Right.
We did this experiment when I was teaching social psychology. I was just an adjunct professor. And I wanted the kids to participate in an experiment so they could just kind of understood how cool it was. So we would have people come in.
Can I just say that's cool that you were like a professor? Okay, keep going.
Thank you. Adjunct. All the true faculty are like, she was adjunct. So I was like, the ride along and the police on the police highway. I was the ride along. But we would have people come in and they would think the experiment was that they were going to self-rate and self-disclose how lucky they saw themselves, okay? So they would come in and take an assessment. While they were in the classroom taking the assessment, my team of students would be out putting money on the way to their car. So we told them to park in a very special place.
Yes.
And we would scatter money, like by their driver's side. We even hung like a $10 bill, eye level, in a tree. And then we had somebody watching them to see how much money they picked up.
I heard an experiment like this.
Yeah, so it's replicating. It's not my work. It's replicating,
right.
The textbook. I tell you what, the people who rated themselves luckiest found the most money.
Right.
And the people who rated themselves unlucky found the least money.
And was the assessment after the walk or before the walk?
While they were in. So I say, do you think you're a lucky person? You're like, yeah, I'm pretty lucky. Your attitude, your self-rating determined.
Look for luck.
Yeah. And so what was so funny is how self-fulfilling that prophecy is. So I'm standing there mad, and I'm not noticing all the other stuff.
That's right, the opportunities.
Another fun story, and I think I heard this from a preacher somewhere.
Can I just say one quote?
Yeah, go for it.
Don't forget it. Opportunities don't go away. Other people take advantage of them.
Yeah, they do.
Somebody got that $10.
Yeah, somebody got it.
Okay, preacher.
No, I love that because I forget who it was, they talked about as a writer, the muse, the source is always looking for a host and with great ideas. And it visits you and you have an idea and you don't get gutsy.
That spark, that
You don't
inspiration.
get-
You got
and
to
you
act
don't
right
take
then.
it. That will go find another
Absolutely.
better host. And there was a writer,
right.
and I can't remember who it was, a very famous book. It wasn't Cheryl Strayed, but the woman who wrote, Elizabeth Gilbert, I think, wrote a book on creativity. And she talks about the fact that she had this idea for a book and it just haunted her, and that she didn't write it, and that she met somebody who they'd never talked about before. This was not a stolen idea. And that woman wrote that book. The same book that she ignored the creative spark to. So it's so true that if we don't get gutsy with what comes to us, that will go find another host. That will go find somebody on this planet to bring it into fruition. We all have access to the same source.
We
so
do.
this preacher
We
story
do.
was pretty good too about when we are negative and think we're doomed. There is a there's a woman who was in a hurricane and her house was flooding, and she was just desperate for help, and she was on the main floor and it flooded, and she had to go up the second floor and it flooded. She'd go up on the rooftop, and every time she's like, you know, God, I believe in you. I know you'll send me help. And no help came. God didn't. She's like, God, I'm looking for you. You will rescue me. And didn't come to the first floor flood. She's up on the second floor. She's like, God, I really trust that you are going to be here now. She's on the roof. She drowns. She gets to heaven. And she goes, God, give me a break. I believed in you. I waited and waited and waited. And God looked at her and said, girlfriends, I sent you a motorboat. I sent you a helicopter. I sent you hundreds of ways to get saved, but in her mind, it wasn't God. Like, she just kept, the boat came by and she refused it, like, and he told it much better. But how many times are we looking for it, somebody to pick me up now so I'm not displeased, and we miss it?
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
And that's that beginner's mind. And if you get beyond ego and you're in that good mix of spirit versus ego, little ego, lots of spirit, you'll see incredible opportunity.
Yes.
Which then what I think is when you know something's inspired, I think is easier to get gutsy about.
But that's just it. If it pops up as an idea in your head, it was inspired.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Period.
It's like if you're tuned in and you go,
That's right.
that came to me. Have you ever been speaking and your head
All
just
my
opens
marketing
up?
was
and your head opens up and the idea just like falls in. Like,
Yes.
the first time I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm listening to myself going, I've never heard that from myself.
Right.
But that's awesome.
Right.
I love that feeling.
Right.
I love that
and I love it
feeling.
when it's recorded too.
Yeah.
And times I'll say, oh, that's a keeper. Like,
Yeah.
but where did that come from?
Where'd it
Did I
come
just
from?
say that? Right?
So
And
your whole
why haven't I
marketing
ever
is
thought of that
inspired
before?
stuff.
Absolutely. When I was starting out as an entrepreneur, I mean, think about it. I was a cop, a Marine, a combat pilot. I didn't know anything about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to read a profit and loss statement. I didn't know how to do a business plan. I didn't know how to, all the things about being an entrepreneur and running a business, I didn't know about that stuff. Now, did I go to resources to help learn some
That's the
things?
key.
Yes, absolutely. And so I absolutely followed my gut. And I didn't call it gutsy move back then. I mean, I was actually working with one of my coaches and mentors, and she asked me, you know, what are the top 3 things that if you look back at the last 3 years have given you a quantum leap every year? And I said, well,
That's a cool
definitely
question.
mentor, coach, let's see, knowledge, you know, reading. And I said, and the last thing is probably, risk taking or faith or stepping out. It's like something in there, but that's not it. It's not faith. It's edgier than that. It's
gutsy.
I don't know.
I love
right.
it.
So I couldn't put my finger on it. I said, but it's something about faith, stepping out, risk, willing to take a risk. And literally just a couple hours later, I'm talking to a friend. It was my roommate. We were on the balcony of the hotel. We're looking out at the ocean and palm trees. And she was like, you know, Vernice, I really just want to do this and this and this. And I said, well, why aren't you just go for it? I said, just make a gutsy move. And I said,
I love it.
That's it! Right! And that's where the gutsy move was born.
It's so organic and it's so you.
Yes. And So I said, in your gut, your gut is telling you to do it. So then I go and share it with a friend. I was like, hey, check that, I got it. I finally got it. It's the thing. It's your gutsy move in your gut. You know it's right. And she said, oh, I like that. And it's double edged because in your gut, you know it's right, but it takes guts to do it. I was like, oh my God.
That's it. I love it.
Right. Yes. And when it comes, if I could just say this one thing about, you said the muse and it's up there, it says energy, and if it doesn't find you, then it finds somebody else. If I were to turn on a TV right now and turn it on, some kind of channel would come up. Now, probably hazy these days because everybody has cable, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a little rabbity action. But something's gonna come through. If I turn on the radio, turn to 103.3, 95.7, whatever, just because we don't have a radio in here right now, does that mean the radio waves are not around us?
Exactly. That's the
they're
point.
Here.
That's so cool.
You just got to be tuned,
but you haven't tuned into it.
That's right. So what's our stuff that's for us, but we're just not tuned in.
And if you're out in the present, or I mean, if you're not in the present, if you're out in the future and you're in the
not
past,
tuned in.
you're not tuned in.
That's right.
And the big
and you
thing
got to take
too
your ego.
You got to take your ego,
That's your
and you got to
podcast. That's
self-reflect.
the
You
name
got
of
to
this.
self-reflect. You know, like you're like self-reflecting. It's like, what are these three things that just moved quantum? And you and I, we work on our personal brand. It's our business, and it's, but I think everybody should work on their personal brands. Like really figure out what's your deal. Mine is like ditch the drama. Suffering's optional. Your ego's not your amigo. Like yours
Your
is
ego's
like
not your amigo.
that's my new favorite one. I'm like yours
like
is
that.
like get gutsy, because
That's right.
if you can lead yourself in a relationship with clarity, then people know how to hook onto you. Like if you're fuzzy,
Who wants to
bring
follow
myself-
somebody that's not clear?
Yeah, and even as a friendship, I don't know what to hook on to. Like, not that you're always evolving. It's like, but if you can present that, you know, it gives people a place to say me too or me not, or
Right.
and I think a lot of folks are so waiting for this external thing to happen for them instead of just like get to know who you are, move through the life without ego but in gutsy ways. You know, listen to the muse, entertain the thought, stop ignoring the radio waves coming in. Make sure you stop and tune into that. I mean, there's just so much, there's good stuff that
People are waiting for their break. They're waiting for their big break. Right? Just like I love golf. I'm obsessed with golf. All my golfers out there, hit me up. Let's go golfing. No matter where you are, we'll go because I'm obsessed.
Are you? I'll
But
golf with you.
yeah, but on the Golf Channel, they started this show called The Big Break, right? And it was like they got the amateurs or whatever, and whoever won, I think, would go on and get signed on as a pro. Or that, so that was the break, just like American Idol or The Voice
waiting
is
for
that
the break.
that break. Well, I say you have to make your break.
Yeah.
You know, why are you waiting and waiting and wait? Just like you're waiting for permission to engage,
And it's
you don't
dependent
get, you're
upon
the
the
ground controller.
circumstances. Yeah. Well, you know what it reminds me of? Did you do jump rope when you were little?
Yes,
So those people
still do because I'm a CrossFitter now.
Oh, I love jump rope. So you're like, you and I are swinging the jump rope.
Yes.
And you're waiting for that person who just won't go.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have missed, it's the same rope, the same thing. You have missed 100 chances to just jump in. And a lot of times that permission to engage, I see that in my mind where I'm like, I am going this next time. You know, Mel Robbins talks about like 1, 2, 3, like, in whatever you need to do to jump in. Like the worst thing that can happen is you have to try it again. The rope hits you and you go forward.
Okay, so there's a process. Would you like to hear the process for?
Yeah.
All right. So number one, create your flight plan. Where are you? Where do you want to be? Now, there's a huge element here that I do not want people to do. Do not think about the how. This is the brainstorming, this is the dreaming, this is the visioning phase. Why? Because if you think about the how, you're gonna boil it down, and it's no longer gonna be a gutsy move or the dream, it's gonna be an action on your to-do list that has no fear
Or even
around
worse, it will become your reasons, stories, and excuses why you
why you
couldn't.
didn't. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So what do you really want,
Flight plan.
right? If failure wasn't an option, if you had 20 million in the bank, what would you really do? But no, really, what would you really do? Then when we get to the next phase, that's when you mitigate the risk, the pros and cons, because it's easy for someone to shoot your stuff down, right? And for yourself to shoot it down. Are your thoughts your biggest obstacles? Not even all the external stuff.
Yeah.
Your very own thoughts, your self-doubter on the inside.
And focus, when you ask people for help, focus on how you could, not
Versus
for
how
why you
you couldn't.
can't.
Right.
Right, because I'll ask
Right.
people and they're like, well, here's
Right.
why you shouldn't do that, or here's
I
why you
didn't answer
can't. I'm
that.
like, that wasn't my question.
That wasn't my, right.
My question was, how could I?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Marcia Weeder, a friend of mine, an amazing coach, she had this saying, and I loved it. She said, there are the dreams that you have for life, and then there are the dreams life has for you.
Love
Isn't
that.
that amazing?
That's awesome.
That's the detour is the path. That's
The detour is the path.
expectancy versus expectation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So then there's the pre-flight. When I go out to that aircraft and I'm looking at the engines, the landing gear, I'm looking at all the things to make sure everything looks good. Why? Because I want to have a safe mission, go up, do my thing, and come back down. It's not like running out of gas in your car. You know, you call AAA.
Yeah.
There's
nobody.
Look, right. Your membership's expired. You renew with your credit card. They come anyway. No.
There's no one to blame but yourself. Like, if you get up there and it's screwed up, it is you.
Well, you want to mitigate, like, things are still going to happen maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
But if I catch it on the ground before we get up there, I want to
can mitigate
mitigate my risk as much as possible, because stuff's going to happen anyway. So let's take out the stuff we could have prevented.
Yeah.
Right? Then you got step 3, takeoff. Right? It's the most important part, one of the most critical functions of the mission. Look at the shuttle, right?
Yeah.
Takeoff. Don't want to run out of fuel right in the middle of takeoff. Now, luckily for us, we can aerial refuel, you know, go back, get more money, budget, this, that. But the takeoff is critical. Launching a business, critical. IPO, critical, right? Then now you're in the execution phase. Navigating the minefields and obstacles. I like to say acknowledge the obstacles. Don't give them power. Acknowledge them, but don't give them power. What do you want? Not what don't you want. How can we do this? Not why we can't.
Got it.
Right?
Love it.
Acknowledge them, not an ostrich in the sand, but don't give them power.
But they're just reality. I love that acknowledgement, because people are like, you know, so you just accept reality. And I'm like, no, you just acknowledge that that's something in my path so that I can calculate
how
my
to get
next
around
response
it.
to.
Over, around, through, under,
Yeah.
to get to the other side. Absolutely. And then the final, step 5, is a 3-pronged approach. Number 1, review your successes and failures. Successes as much as the failures. Why? What's our best practice? How do we get here? How do we do it? We want to hold on to that, right? Then step 2 of this part 5, review, recharge, reattack. Review, recharge, emotionally, physically, intellectually. Emotionally, do you take Saturdays off? Are you spending time with your kids?
Yeah.
Physically, are you drinking water? Are you exercising? Going to sleep? Are you getting 6 hours of sleep? 5, let alone, you know.
Yeah.
Some people are getting 3 and 4. Right,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
which is not
let alone
sustainable.
8 or 9.
Yeah,
right.
all the new research on sleep says you're nuts if you're getting 3 hours a night.
Chronically
Yeah.
deprived, sleep deprived.
plaque your brain,
Right? Yeah,
plaque your
absolutely,
brain, and
absolutely. So emotionally, physically, and intellectually. That's why people are listening to the sound of our voice
Yeah.
right now.
Feed
right?
yourself intellectually.
That's right. And then finally, the last one is the secret sauce. Because before I even say it, it's the secret sauce. There are only 2 ways to succeed, period, in the story. Do you believe me on that? You don't have to.
No, I'll take
but
it. I'm
you're gonna take
taking
the
it.
bait.
I'll take the bait.
There's someone listening to the sound of my voice that does not agree with me, and that's okay. Because I firmly hold on, there are only 2 ways to succeed. The first time, or again.
I love that.
Or again, or again, or again, or again, or again. So I call it the reattack. Review, recharge, reattack.
Reattack. And I love that, Vernice. And I would add to that if you are going through this with the ego mindset, you are going to keep your options so narrow. And one of the things go beyond the ego. Everything you said, I kept thinking about. Use your network, use everything the universe gave you, because we only use part of it.
Yeah.
And the big crowdsource, like so many times, and what you were doing when you reached out to me, how we met without ever meeting. Like, I feel like we've been great friends. First time we've ever met.
It's crazy.
Is that you were crowdsourcing. You're like, hey, Sai, you don't know me, but I heard you're a speaker. I heard you're a mom. What best ideas do you have for me? You didn't ask me to solve it. You didn't ask me whether you should have a baby or not. You didn't ask me. You just said, what are your best techniques that you've discovered
right.
on the road as somebody
That's
who went
right.
before. And in each one of those things, if I just review it myself and don't bring other people, trusted people in, and ask them the right questions, because I have found in my life that life is a big Google search. If there's one single thing I don't know, I simply put it out there. And in the more positive relationships I have, the more times I can put it out to thousands of people who love and care about me, because I've loved and cared about them. And I just put it out there, and people don't tell me what to do, but they tell me all the things I could do. And then without cherry picking, I just got to go through and really figure out
it's all data.
what is
What works
better
for you.
data. And I operate in life too many times with either corrupted data from my ego or too little data because I didn't ask for help.
And a lot of folks are like, didn't ask for help.
are like that. You know what? We got to, I hate this. So we're going to do a second episode one of these times. So give me an excuse to meet you on the road. we came together on the road, you guys, Vernice FlyGirl Armour and I. We're at an Evanta conference. I forgot to mention that. Evanta is this incredible organization, it's a Gartner company, and they take C-suites and they have those individuals plan a conference for C-suites by C-suites. So it's not something that people plan for you. It's like topics of the day. It's amazing. If you haven't figured out Evanta, you're nuts and need to go Google them. And if you're privileged enough, get to some of their conferences. They got them for CHROs, CMOs, CIOs, CFOs, CXOs. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, they have them for everything. But we're speaking. She's speaking tonight. I'm speaking tomorrow. That's the level of speakers you get at a free conference. Get in touch with Evanta, because we're going to rock this thing. I love that you were on a poster. I got to get a copy of this poster, a picture of it. I love that, of the superheroes. You seriously are a major superhero to me. I love your stuff, and I love every time I see the hashtag Get Gutsy. Boom. I love it. And so, how do people get to follow you? Like, give them the drill. How do they become
Twitter,
your biggest fan?
At Vernice Armour, Instagram, Vernice FlyGirl Armour, Facebook, Vernice FlyGirl Armour, LinkedIn, Vernice FlyGirl Armour. There's a trend there, right? And VerniceArmour.com. Or, even email me, flygirl@VerniceArmour.com.
I love it. Spell Vernice Armour just so people get it.
Yes. Vernice, V as in Victor, ERNICE, Armour, ARMOUR, just like Under Armour.
Under Armour.
I need to get a spokesperson role with them.
You
like,
should.
Combat pilot, Marine! Here I am!
Especially, and they need more than an extra. If you get a hold of Under Armour, they need workout gear for more than an extra large, because that wasn't made for nobody around here. So if you get that contract, I want double X.
Yes,
double X.
Done.
I couldn't adore you 1 ounce more. Thank you so much coming in early. You raced in here to give my listeners such a treat of this podcast. I'm a big fan. Lay it in. Awesome.
And we're going to keep talking. So see you guys in part 2.
Part 2. We'll be back.